Hi, JB.
Hey, Alice, how you doing?
Hi, doing great. Is that a good evening for you?
Yeah, almost 6 p.m. over.
Yeah. Thanks for scheduling another policy store meeting for me.
No
Appreciate
worries, anytime. Anytime. Hey, Krishna.
Hi, Christian.
Hello together.
Hey everyone.
Hi, Alex.
Hey. Hey, Alex.
Alex. Ashwin.
Hello, good morning.
Let's just give two more minutes for people to join. And at the meantime, please feel free to add any topics you want to discuss today. Okay, so since it's already 9:05, so I will start with brief overview of what has been added to the REST stack over the last 3 weeks. So first, we remove the namespace table view head endpoints from the defaults. This is for the backward compatibility that we observed, like a breaking change in 1.8 release, and we fixed that, and we released 1.8.1. So thanks everyone for working on that. And we also have remove schemas REST update now. So we can remove the unused schemas when we do the snapshot expiry. Thanks, Gable, for adding that. And also we have the override option when registering an Iceberg table. So now you can like do kind of like non-linear updates to the table by just like forcing replacement of the latest metadata. And thanks, Steve, for adding that. So these are the 3 major things that happens for the REST stack over the last 3 weeks. And now I will. Any topics or items anyone wants to bring up?
So I wanted to ask a little bit more about the fix that went into the 1.8.1 release. I noticed that it was in the release, and clearly, like, it was something that needed to be fixed. But I'm curious what's going on with the HTTP request that we are modifying the URI and like removing trailing slashes and doing things like that in general. Like I thought we had the resource paths that were constructed by a class already. And so I was surprised to see what I would assume is an intermediate class munging URIs and, actually causing release bugs. So could we just, discuss a little context around there and try and figure out like what's the right, abstraction or way to manage that in the client?
Sure, I can maybe offer some context. So we created this class a while ago for the Alt Manager effort. So basically, it's a way to model the entire HTTP request, including headers, the path, the query parameters, and everything, because the Alt Manager needs to operate on the entire request depending on the way it authenticates, right? And so that's basically the reason why there's this new class. And so he needs to construct the URI. And for that, we need...
Sorry, it seems like more of an assumption that you're making that it needs to construct the URI.
Well,
why is that?
At least it needs the path, right? And the problem is that like some authenticators like SigV4 would like to have the complete request URI, and that's required for them. So we need to expose that in the HTTP request.
Yes, but wouldn't that just be passed in directly to the HTTP request? Like, here's the full. Well, I guess. Are you talking about leaving merge-in parameters? Because what I'm talking about is the part that merges the, the service URI with the request path and things like that. So I'm just wondering.
Yeah, actually, that code existed before, and I tried to copy paste exactly the same logic. The problem that happened, and that was the reason of the bug we had in A181, is for external URIs. And indeed, when you pass a path to the HTTP client and the path is absolute, we take that path as is, and we contacted that exact URI. And that part of the logic wasn't ported to HTTP requests, and which is why we had the bug. So basically what we are doing now is that if the path is internal, then we construct the URI just as before. However, if the path is external, the novelty is that we are not touching it in any way and keeping it as is.
Okay. So we were stripping the trailing slash from internal paths before. I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's odd.
It was part of the path construction. It was there, and it's been there for, I think, about as long as it's been in the code base. So it's mostly like how we were handling it within the, I think it was HTTP client before. There's like a build request method or something like that.
Yeah.
And we were handling all the logic somewhat locally there.
Okay.
So it's not new.
Interesting. Okay. Well, sorry. Thank you for the explanation.
Okay, cool. So I saw the next item is put by Yufei about the 419 status code. Yufei, do you want to talk more about it?
Yeah, I think we have some discuss in the mailing list as well as the PR, some posted PR. The original reason we bring up this discussion is some Python client, HTTP client is rely on the 419 to do the retry. And it turns out when we look at the IFC as well as the best practice for token expiration, 419 is not a standardized, and a 401 is actually recommended by the IFC. At the same time, it looks like if we as a best practice, it's better to not say, okay, your token is invalid due to the expiration, because that gave the client's assumption that token was valid, and potentially there's some security risk. It's a minor thing, I agree. So I think the risk discussion is about, okay, we consider 419 is always be optional. Then this PI is trying to clarify that the 419 is optional. Another idea I put into that PR comments is when we do that right now, it's seems like we just deprecated that. But I want to gather more inputs, say, because Ryan Brewer and Daniel say, okay, SIG-V4 maybe rely on the 419 for the retrain.
So I don't think we're great people to talk about SIG-V4, right? Like, we helped get the SIG-V4 stuff in, but I think that would be like, we should reach out to someone at AWS for it. That said, like, I would be for simplifying the spec and deprecating and removing things if no one's using it, because why not just make it simpler?
Yeah, I think like I went back and I looked at the status codes and like the context around this whole thing. Like I agree, like 419 is probably not the right thing to be using. Like if you just look up the code, it sounds like it's the right thing, but it's largely used in like web context and things like that. I don't think that there should really be very much confusion though, because like if you're using OAuth, you should use the status codes that OAuth tells you to use, right? Like I wouldn't think that like we're trying to override OAuth or that we're providing some sort of inconsistent guidance there. I think like even with OAuth, and possibly what was trying to be handled at the time was like, if you send back just a 401, you don't know if it's because it was invalid or because it was expired. And even in OAuth, like the message says your token has expired. So like they're potentially leaking through the the idea that token was valid at some point as well. So like even in their examples, that I don't think that security concern of like, was it valid, is it not valid? I mean, you can of course hide that if you want to, but that's entirely an implementation detail. I don't think that's the goal.
The client needs to know if this is because they need to refresh or if this is because they're actually denied.
Yeah, so I would be in favor of just like deprecating it and saying, let's get rid of 419, unless there is like something special that's happening with SIG-V4. But like, I don't think that we handle anything in the Java implementation about SIG-V4 with 419 code. So if there's no reference to us doing it, like I don't think that the SDK is handling any of these requests, like the AWS SDK in any way. So it's very likely we can just deprecate and remove it.
If I remember correctly, this was like, oh, someone uses this code to signal this case, and we're like, okay, well, let's add it. But yeah, like Dan said, we never supported this. I don't think anyone's using it, so deprecation makes the most sense.
Can we clarify what was going on with the Python code? Was it just because like Python had automatically handling for 419, or were they actually explicitly calling out like 419 and doing some sort of retry logic? Do we know?
Yeah, I think Python have this automatic project for retrying rely based on the 419. That's the one of the problem for the Python client.
Was that because of our code, or was that because we're using like HTTP requests or something like that, and it just like automatically had some special 419 handling?
I think it's in Iceberg repo, but I can double check.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect any.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
wouldn't
it's in
expect that.
Iceberg repo.
Because I don't know why. Like, why would it retry? Right? Like, it needs to do something different entirely. Because I mean, you've just been told like you don't have anything valid, so why are you retrying?
Yeah.
So
I think I agree with all of you. We may just deprecate that. That's also my points in the PR to make it simple and make it clear for the clients. And at the same time, like we should express the very clear message that you shouldn't rely on the 419. Cool, thanks.
Oh, so yeah, just to call out if there's any other topic anyone wants to bring up.
I just wanted to check, Christian. I think
Yeah.
last time we talked about the federation kind of thing. I don't know if you've had time.
I didn't quite finish it for this meeting. Yeah, I just unmuted myself to say the same thing. So I expect in the next next 3 weeks until before the next sync. Yeah.
If we do not have like any other more topics, I think we can get everyone like 40 minutes back. So this meeting will, as usual, being recorded, and we'll upload this short recording to the YouTube very sooner, either today or tomorrow.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.